In today's video, I'll be sharing with you my experience with passive suicidal ideation. And for those of you who don't know, passive suicidal ideation is having the thought of committing suicide without having an active plan to do so. But before I discuss my experience, I would like to introduce myself. My name is Janellis. I created this YouTube channel to share my personal journey towards trauma healing in a completely transparent way. It is my goal with this channel to enable myself and others to live a life filled with joy, trust, and fulfillment. If you would like to join me on this journey, please subscribe to my channel. So at first I thought it'd be easiest for me to share my experience with passive suicidal ideation as a journal entry, so I began it as a journal entry. But then it got to a certain point where I stopped writing because I just thought it would be easier for me to just talk into the camera about the rest of that experience. So it first starts as a journal entry, and then I'll just be talking to you. I titled the journal entry Suicidal Tendencies. I have struggled with passive suicidal ideation the majority of my life. The earliest memory I have of battling with it is when I was about 5 or 6. I didn't recognize what the feeling was or that it was abnormal to have. As I got older and the feeling grew more intense, I tried to explain it to others as loneliness and sadness. These conversations would result in me being dismissed and left to question the validity of my feelings. But over time, as the feelings intensified rather than going away, I would try to better explain my feelings in hopes of being offered help. Instead, I was accused of being ungrateful for all that I had been given and made to feel I was a burden anytime I shared anything other than pure positivity. Then when I was in middle school, I became obsessed with watching Dr. Phil, especially the episodes that featured misbehaved children or children in distress. I say children a lot, but I also mean teens as well. I fantasized about being given the option to go to the therapeutic ranch that Dr. Phil sent the children to for recovery. This then put the idea into my head of needing a real problem, like a drug addiction or eating disorder, to get help. I then fantasized about having both and being sent to rehab. This remained the background thought up until high school, when I experienced an intense episode of depression. And then I have an asterisk at the top that says, "This is going to seem irrelevant, but I promise it'll make sense in a bit." And I feel like that's a leftover, bad habit of me feeling like I always have to over-explain myself. And then it continues. It was my junior year of high school. My attempt to make funnel cakes on the stove resulted in a mini kitchen fire. This experience left me with the realization I had been emotionally numb up to that point, and that I had a lot of suppressed emotions that needed tending to. The suppressed emotions overwhelmed me to the point I feared my passive suicidal ideation would become active. I knew I didn't want to die, I just wanted the pain to go away. So I made an appointment with a counselor. And that's where I stopped because I thought it'd be easier for me to just say the rest to the camera. So I made an appointment with a counselor and I told him everything that I was feeling, that I just felt overwhelmed with negative emotions. Like I was really sad all the time and I was just worried that the rest of my life was just going to be that miserable, and I was having thoughts of suicide. And he immediately recognized the severity of the situation. So he told me that he would like to have a meeting with my parents. Also in this first meeting, he mentioned the idea of me being institutionalized. And I remember this really resonated with me because, like I said in the journal entry, I fantasized so much about the idea of going to a therapeutic ranch or rehab, the idea of just being away on my own and just left to process my emotions and just be around people who were experiencing the same things that I was. It just always warmed my heart. That was just something that I just saw as heaven. So I shared these emotions that I had with the counselor, and he suggested that I went home early that day and just had a conversation with my mom separately, and then we could have a meeting the next day, just the three of us, because my dad was still out of town. I was very scared at the idea of my parents knowing how I felt, just because in the past, whenever I expressed these emotions, like I shared in the journal entry, it was just met with me being made to feel that I was ungrateful or kind of blamed for having those emotions in the first place. I remember being really nervous about asking my mom to pick me up because I was very nervous about what reason I should give her for me going home early. So I'm pretty sure the counselor called and said that I wasn't feeling well or something like that, just to allow me to have the full on conversation with her in person. And I remember being really nervous. Like, I can just picture the moment in my head right now. And I sat her down and I said, I have to tell you something. And she kept asking me what it was. And I was just so nervous. Like, I kept choking up and no words would come out. And it was freaking her out. She's like, what's wrong? What's wrong? And I just bursted out crying. And I told her that I was depressed and that I had thoughts of suicide. And then she got really sad and was really crying. And then we were both crying. And then I told her that the counselor wanted to meet with her the next day. And the rest of that day just moved so slowly. Like, I was just in so much pain. And she was showing me like pictures of when I was a kid, I remember. And for moments I would feel happiness, but then I would be overwhelmed with sadness all over again. And I didn't really know what was the root of those feelings, but I remember those feelings just being really intense. But when we did meet with the counselor, she shared with the counselor what she had been doing to try to help me. And it was to kind of distract me and to show me pictures of my childhood when she remembered me being happy. And he said those were like good things to do and practice, but he felt like I needed more help than that. He highly recommended that I was institutionalized just because of how intense my suicidal thoughts were, and that I also told him that I had thought about how I would do it. So he was saying like, these are giant red flags, she needs immediate help. But this was like instantly shut down because of the idea that someone might find out that I was institutionalized and it might hurt my chances of getting a job one day in the future. And the counselor just kept emphasizing like, your daughter's life is more important than that. Like, you should really focus on her needing help right now and not something that might happen in the future. Also, he emphasized that chances are people won't find out because of HIPAA regulations and patient privacy laws. But for whatever reason, this was just really important to my parents that I not be institutionalized because of how it might hurt my reputation in the future. So when he realized just how off the table that option was, he then highly recommended that I, at the very least, was given a therapist. Because although he really wanted to help me, he just felt like he didn't specialize in the type of therapy that I needed at that immediate moment. So then therapy was kind of considered as an option, but it was kind of like, we'll have to see if our health insurance covers it or something like that. And the counselor said, you know, usually health insurance does cover therapy, but there was just a lot of excuses given in terms of me getting help for the mental health problems that I was experiencing. Also, I forgot to mention that in these meetings, I mentioned how the fire kind of ignited all of these emotions, but I also emphasized feeling this way prior to the fire. Okay, so with that said, my parents made an appointment with a primary care doctor, and I remember explaining to the nurse in detail everything that was going on, and then the doctor walked in and he was like, so why are you here today? And I was confused because I was just like, I literally explained the detail to the nurse. Like, that's hard enough for me to talk about. Now I have to explain that all over again. Like, why did I have to explain it to the nurse if I was just gonna have to repeat myself to you? But whatever. I repeated myself to him, and he just fixated on the point that the fire ignited these emotions, and that's something that my parents fixated on as well. And they kind of brushed over the fact that I was trying to emphasize that I had feelings like this prior to the fire, but they just kind of wrote it off, doctor included, by saying that, oh, I was just scared because of the fire. So the doctor decided that I didn't really need any more help, but to just accept to myself that the fire was an accident and move on, essentially. And then for whatever reason, my parents decided that I didn't need therapy. I feel like they said something along the lines of me not needing to talk to other people, like I could just talk to them. But I remember feeling like whenever I talk to them, they don't take me seriously. Like, they don't understand how I feel. They tell me how I feel rather than trying to understand where I was coming from. And I just felt so trapped, I guess. I felt trapped and like I just hit a stone wall. and I just wanted to scream. Like, I just remember as time would pass, it just felt like every second was just a million years long, and I just wanted out of that misery. And I was so scared still that I might commit suicide, but I didn't know what to do because I already spoke to the counselor and got this result. Like, my parents were just, they really disappointed me. And this is something that I still sit with today because they've never asked me since then. It's been, what, that was 2011? 10 years. It's been 10 years, and they've never once asked me if I've ever been suicidal again, or if I've talked to them about depression or anxiety. They never really take it seriously. They take it as me feeling sad or overwhelmed, but they don't treat it like it's something that needs immediate help. So I kind of always pushed it down or aside until it became too overwhelming again about a year ago. But this time, when I sought out a therapist, they put me on medication, and the medication helped, and it has been helping. But I realized that I needed more than just medication. I need therapy as well. And it took me a couple therapists before I found the one that I have now, who I feel is best suited for me. So with my current therapist, I'm working through 3 specific therapy goals. One is processing the trauma that I've experienced in the past. We're not quite there yet. There's a lot of groundwork that we have to do to make sure that I'm prepared to have that discussion without it causing further damage to me. Like, if we talk about it too soon, I might not have the coping skills in place in order to deal with the emotions that come with processing all that has happened. And then the second goal is to work through the anger I have towards my family for them not offering me help for the mental health issues that I was experiencing sooner. And if I'm being honest, it makes it really hard for me to have a relationship with them at all, because with any help that they give me, even if they give me financial support or they give me advice, at the back of my mind, all I can think of is, I told you I was suicidal and you didn't think that was serious enough to give me help immediately. Like, who cares if I have a stuffy nose? Like, I still have a stuffy nose, it's like day 4. But, like, to obsess over that and, like, really check in and be like, is your stuffy nose gone? Is your cold gone? It's like, why do you care about that when I literally told you I was thinking about killing myself and you did nothing? Like, what's the point in caring about a stuffy nose but not care about mental health that could lead to me being dead? I talk more about these complicated feelings that I have towards my family in a different video. I'll actually link a couple of videos in the description that I feel might give more backstory or explanation to the feelings that I'm describing in this one. And then the last goal is for me to really work on being present and being mindful and being able to appreciate life as it happens, rather than being caught up in my mind thinking about the past or the future. Like, I want to be able to enjoy things as they're happening rather than waiting until they are a memory for me to appreciate all the good in them. So that's a generic overview of what my experience with passive suicidal ideation has been. There are parts of the timeline that I didn't discuss because I want to be able to talk about them in greater detail, but I didn't want this specific video to be too long. So the parts that I'm talking about is the past 2 years of my life, which really initiated me going on this healing journey. And a really big point I want to make is, throughout this whole journey, something that I've never regretted is not giving up. Like, when I wake up each morning, I am so grateful that I'm still alive. Like, I'm so grateful that I continue to fight. There was always something in the back of my mind that told me I have never fully experienced the sensation of joy and happiness. And I would just tell myself, at the very least, I deserve to experience that at least once. And that's something that always kept me going. So I just want other people to know, if you are experiencing what I've experienced in the past, or if you could resonate with what I'm going through now, that you're not alone, that there are people out there that can help you, and things do get better. And I know it's like a slogan or whatever, like, it gets better, but it really does. And once that moment is reached, there's just a great level of gratitude that the fight was continued. But with that said, please share with me in the comments if you or someone you know has ever experienced suicidal ideation and what that experience was like. Thank you so much for watching my video. If you would like to further support my content, please go to patreon.com/yourfriendjanellis to become a member of my Patreon. As you may know, Patreon is a way for fans to support the content that they love on a monthly basis. Members of my Patreon enjoy the exclusive benefits of a chat community, live streams, and guaranteed access to me via direct messaging. By supporting my Patreon, you're allowing me to dedicate the time and effort necessary to create, edit, and upload new videos on a weekly basis. Thank you so much for your support, and I appreciate you all.